Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, I'm going to be explaining to you exactly why Ethereum is going to rally to $7,500 in this bull market. That's right. I believe that Ethereum is going to more than double all the way to nearly 8 grand in this cycle. And by the end of the decade, I expect Ethereum is going to rally to over $10,000, which would be a 3x from where we are right now. That might also just mean that we're just getting started. Is Ethereum going to rally up to a $1 trillion market capitalization? Well, I'm going to break down this chart for you today that explains to you exactly why I think that Ethereum is about to rally right here. So, without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. All right, so the very first thing that we need to go over on Ethereum is its long-term fundamentals. And one of the most important things that we need to talk about is none other than the DeFi space. Ethereum has still not reached the same TVL that it saw at the peak in 2021. No, we saw $107 billion of total value locked in November of 2021. Right now, Ethereum is currently sitting at $82 billion. Some of that has to do with the fact that Solana is rallying, but honestly, Solana has about the same TVL that it did in 2021 as well. And overall, TVL across the cryptocurrency space is still below all-time high. That doesn't make much sense when you consider just how bullish the market is right now. And there's one specific piece of legislation that I want to talk about that is going to have a very big impact on Ethereum, and that would be none other than the stablecoin legislation that we are currently seeing pass through the United States Congress. That is going to be signed into law. It is being signed into law, actually, and that is going to lead to a massive rally on Ethereum. And the reason for that is quite simply $130 billion of stablecoin market capitalization is on ETH. In fact, Tether fees account for $20 million a day of fees being paid on Ethereum. That's almost $1 billion a year of fees being paid on Ethereum, and that's not going to slow down anytime soon. That is a lot more transaction volume than we saw on Ethereum back at the peak when Ethereum's market cap hit $552 billion and the price hit $5,000 back here at the end of November in 2021. We are nowhere near that level, and that is why Ethereum is rapidly correcting its price to the upside. Why is Ethereum rally so much? Very simply because stablecoins are here to stay, and the vast majority of stablecoins are built out on Ethereum. That is a trend that will continue. Ethereum stablecoins are going to be one of the reasons that Ethereum goes to $1 trillion market capitalization, as we'll be talking about in a second, because we're going to make some price predictions, then we're going to see if they pass the sniff test. When somebody makes a price prediction, does it make sense? Does it make sense that Cardano will go to $100,000 a coin? No. Smells like bullcrap is what that smells like. No, this is a real prediction that is probably going to happen. We're going to see if it passes the sniff test in just a minute. All right, so Ethereum has a level of support here at $4,000 that's very important. The reason that this level is so important is because we've already hit this level once, twice, thrice. We've hit this level 3 times. As you can see, we are currently going into a major rally, and at some point soon, probably not immediately, but at some point soon, we're going to come back up here and test $4,000. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen this second or in the next few days, because Ethereum is massively overextended on RSI. This is the highest that RSI has been on Ethereum in years. In fact, over just the last 365 days, Ethereum is currently sitting at the very top, which means that a correction on Ethereum is ridiculously likely right now. Let me just rephrase this. If you're in an Ethereum long trade right now, get out or get liquidated. Capiche? Cool. I'm not talking about going into a long trade right now. You will almost certainly regret that. That's a really bad idea. You should not go into a long trade when RSI on the daily chart is at 88. Stupid. Don't do that. You heard it here first. Do not long Ethereum right now on leverage. But what's the point? The point is, after Ethereum gets a correction, and we'll talk about where that correction drops us down to pretty soon, after Ethereum gets a correction, $4,000 probably is going to break. We're going to come up here and test it. It'll be the 4th possible test. When you see a level test a level, when you see a market test a level 4 times, it is extremely rare that that level doesn't break. We've been teaching something called the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy for about 7 years. And in that video, in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy on the strength of support and resistance, we talk about how if you test a level 4 times, it is almost guaranteed to break. A double top is a strong top. A triple top is an even stronger top. But by the time that 4th top gets tested, for all of my CT2A alumni from years ago, you'll remember me talking about this in like 2018. When you get that 4th test, all bets are off. That level is almost certainly going to break. And so with Ethereum having this massive rally up here, predicated on major stablecoin adoption, which is mostly taking place on Ethereum, you're going to see $4,000 get tested again sometime soon. When we'll talk about in a second, and then from that point in time, we're going to break. We're going to stay long-term for a minute, and then we'll zoom into the short-term. As you can see, a test on 4,000 will actually be the 6th time that we've hit 4K. We hit it once over here, and then we hit it, actually the 7th. We hit it a second time over here, and then we broke it up to 5,000. This all-time high at 5,000 was the outlier, but it proves to us even 4 years ago's fundamentals were strong enough to send ETH to 5,000, which means that if Ethereum is growing stronger now than ever before, which we see based on TVL, Ethereum's TVL is growing linearly, not logarithmically. It's growing linearly towards $100 billion in TVL. It's going to be $200 billion before you know it. Market cap on stablecoins are going to explode. This isn't going to be $20 million a day in fees. Before you know it, that'll be $100 million a day in fees. $300 billion, $400 billion stablecoin market cap. The entire growth of the cryptocurrency space leads to growth in stablecoins. Growth in stablecoins leads to Ethereum. It's that simple. When you invest in Ethereum, you're basically investing in the growth of the entire decentralized application space, and you're investing in the growth of the stablecoin market. So, with that in mind, a $5,000 Ethereum is basically baked in. I mean, it's very obvious at this point because of what the stablecoins are doing. So where do we go from there? Well, there's two Fibonacci's I want to draw for you. The first one is this one. This Fibonacci gives us a retracement from 5K down to the bear market bottom at 887. If we look at that Fib retracement, you can see that it gives us a couple of pieces of information. First and foremost, it gives us a great deal of context about why we're hitting our head at $4,000. It's because it's the 0.786 Fibonacci level. Well, for any of you guys that are uninitiated, when you break through the Fibonacci golden pocket between 0.618 and 0.65, then that typically means you're going to go back to all-time high. We've spent many weeks up here between 0.618 and 0.786, which indicates that a return to all-time high is extremely likely. In other words, buying ETH not on a 25x long for the next 10 minutes, but buying ETH to hold it for 6 months, you're almost guaranteed to go back to all-time high at this point. It would be highly unusual for Ethereum not to go back to all-time high based on the fact that we've spent all of this time above the 0.618. We've broken above it once, 2 times, 3 times, a 4th time now. That means a return to all-time high is probably 90 to 95% confidence. That being said, if you break the all-time high, Fibonacci theory also teaches us that you're extremely highly likely to go to the 1.618, which in this case would be $7,389, which is where the title of this video comes from. Ethereum is likely to rally to $7,389 in this cycle. In this cycle, I expect Ethereum will rally, once again, I'm going to say it again, Ethereum will rally to $7,389. And the reason that I believe that is because of Fibonacci theory. We have every reason to believe that that Ethereum is going to rally back to all-time high because we've broken through 0.618 4 times now. We're going to go back to all-time high. If we go back to all-time high, that's going to send TVL straight through the all-time high of $107 billion. It's currently at 82. We're probably going to see it go to 150 or $200 billion of TVL. That will send the price exponentially rallying all the way up to $7,389. So what do we make of that? A couple of things. Number one, I want to articulate the fact that altcoin season is starting. Number two, I want to articulate where Ethereum's short-term correction is probably going to go. Because what's probably going to happen is Ethereum's going to correct over the next 7 days, and the people that didn't finish watching this video are going to say, Jeb, you're an idiot. You're wrong. It's dropping. It's at $3,400. What gives? Jeb's an idiot. No, we're about to talk about where we're going to drop to because it's probably going to take a break for a couple of weeks. But then I want to talk about how you can profit off of this move. All right, first and foremost, once again, we're going to prove altcoin season is starting. Alt season is starting almost certainly. There's a bunch of different metrics. This is really easy to prove. If we go over here to CoinMarketCap, then we can see the altcoin season index. Alt season index is exploding. We're currently at 53. Recently, it rallied as high as about 52, 53. So we're majorly moving in the direction of an alt season. Altcoin market capitalization has exploded. Altcoin market cap has added over $250 billion of market capitalization in 3 weeks. Absolutely phenomenal. Gives us an enormous amount of confidence that an alt season is starting. If you look at the chart, BTC.D, what we've been talking about a lot lately is that Bitcoin dominance has rejected off of this level. That is the Fibonacci level here at 0.5. When you draw a Fibonacci retracement off of the entire Bitcoin dominance chart here, that is likely going to lead Bitcoin dominance into a small corrective movement, probably down here to about this 58% level, down here to about 58%. And that will probably be where we turn around in alt season. We'll pause for a second. Bitcoin will take off to 150, and then alt season will kick in at the last part of this year. So alt season is starting. Alt season is not here yet. It's just starting. This massive rally that we're seeing on Ethereum, and this is a big part of the point, this is just like an early warning sign that alt season has started. Alt season is not here full blown. Most altcoins are still unprofitable compared to their last all-time high, Ethereum included. So we're not in alt season yet. You're going to see most big cap altcoins go past their previous all-time high plus 50 to 100%. Ethereum is one of them. So first and foremost, alt season is here, but it hasn't really kicked off yet. Remember, In our previous alt seasons, there was a kind of a preliminary alt season, and then there was the main alt season in the last bull market. You had this first alt season where Bitcoin market dominance dropped from 73% down to 58%. The second one, Bitcoin market dominance dropped from 73% down to 40%. That's an alt season. So far, we've seen Bitcoin market dominance drop here by 8%. This is just an early movement. This is not the end of the alt season. There's a lot more room to go. But as I said, second point I want to make here is that Ethereum's going to need a correction. If you look down on the daily chart, we are massively overextended. And if you'll recall a second ago, I drew this trend line right here. That's about as conclusive as it gets. You don't get more obvious than that. Ethereum's done. It's done for a while. It's not going to just blast off to $5,000 tomorrow. It's not going to happen. If Ethereum's TVL was at $200 billion and we were that price suppressed, then yes. But Ethereum's price is not so suppressed that it just gets to ignore RSI on the daily chart. Technical analysis reigns king every time. You cannot ignore it. So if Ethereum's going to have a correction, guaranteed, not guaranteed, but set 98% likelihood that it's going to have some kind of correction. Where is that corrective movement going to bring Ethereum? Well, once again, we're going to pull a Fibonacci, and what you will see is very interesting. Ethereum has a Fibonacci level of support at 0.618 down here at $3,000. It also just so happens that $3,000 is a big even level of support. So there's two major levels that Ethereum can correct back down to: a bull case, a base case, and a bear case. Bull case. Ethereum corrects back down here to $3,500. That allows RSI to cool off down here to probably about 68 to 70, and that gives us room to run back to $4,000. So this is bull case, what I just drew here, right here. This is the bull case on ETH. If things just go absolutely bananas, and we're going into banana zone on Bitcoin also, this is the bull case. Ethereum drops down to $3,500. That would be a drop of approximately 5% from where we are right now. Bounce off of the 0.786 Fibonacci level off of this retracement at $3,500. Big even of $3,500. Bears get liquidated, or they take profits at least. Sorry, longs get liquidated, which allows the bears to take profits, and then we flip back into bullish territory, and then people long, and then what you basically end up seeing happen at that point is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott impulse wave all the way back up towards all-time high. That's kind of the bull case. All right, let's look at the bear case. Then the base case will split the difference. Bear case is that, which is actually a bull case in the long run, bear case is that Ethereum drops down here to $3,000 because the altcoins start taking the heat, right? Bitcoin's boring, Ethereum's boring, altcoins are popping off, so people take profits out of ETH, they cycle it into smaller cap alts like Solana, Cardano, etc., Chainlink. That causes Ethereum to drop down here to $3,000, which ends up establishing the right shoulder of a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern, which would have a neckline, pure TA today, guys, which would have a neckline right here just like this. That neckline would give us a price target, if we were to extrapolate here, to $6,500. Regardless, it points past all-time high. So if that massive inverse head and shoulders pattern forms, that's a very good sign and something you're going to want to watch out for. Base case, we come right here and we split the difference on this VRVP support here at about $3,300. So in short-term, long-term, what do we do? Short-term, a correction on Ethereum is extraordinarily likely. So if you're entering a long into Ethereum, you're making a mistake. A correction on Ethereum, bear case, we drop down to $3,000. We establish a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern, just like this. That inverse head and shoulders pattern causes us to bounce at $3,000. We rally to $5,000. That's a 66% return, massive rally. Bull case in the short term is that Ethereum only drops down to $3,500 and blasts straight through $4,000 in the next month or so. Base case is we drop down to about $3,250, $3,300, and we find support on roughly the visible range volume profile support down around the daily chart, and we bounce and we rally. Those are our cases. None of them are bearish in the long term. All of them are bearish for the next week to 2 weeks before a bounce that would send us to the upside. That's number one. Number two, long-term Ethereum, I keep saying Bitcoin. Ethereum has broken through the 0.618 Fibonacci level on the long-term daily chart, which once again looks like this. We just kind of go ahead and draw this. Looks a little bit something like this. We've broken through the 0.618 Fibonacci level, as you can see right here. And if you look at the logarithmic chart, by the way, you've broken through everything, right? So you look at the regular chart, we've broken through 0.618 right here 4 times now, including the most recent rally. We smashed right through it. Long term, that means that we're most likely going to the Fibonacci extension at 1.618. Okay, the last bull market, we didn't go to 1.618. We didn't even go to 2.618. We went to 3.618 at 5K. So 1.618 is conservative. $7,500 price target for Ethereum this cycle is conservative. It'll probably go higher. So that's the long term. Okay, so does that make sense? Again, Let's pass the sniff test. Ethereum, it goes to $7,500. What does that mean? That means that Ethereum roughly doubles its current market capitalization. Now put Ethereum on track for $1 trillion market cap. Does that make sense? Well, darn right it does. You're looking at a stablecoin industry that is going to be $1 trillion in market cap on its own. Tether has $162 trillion in market, $162 billion in market cap. USDC has $64 billion. That's almost $250 million of market cap in the stablecoins, and that's only going to grow exponentially. So yes, it absolutely makes sense that Ethereum could go there. If Ethereum doubles its TVL up to about $160 to $200 billion in TVL, a $7,500 Ethereum only makes sense. So a $7,500 Ethereum makes total sense for this cycle. Okay, so we've talked about the short term, the correction, the rally back over 4,000. We've talked about the end of the cycle top. Now let's talk about what we should do about it. Here's what we should do about it. What we should do about this is we should consider adding Ethereum to long-term investments because Ethereum more or less represents the entire market. If we go over to a place called Farside Investors, you can see the inflows of the Ethereum ETFs. Now, they're not as large as the Bitcoin inflows. Over the last 2 years since the Bitcoin ETFs launched, we have seen inflows that have hit, if this page will load, that have hit like $70 billion of net inflows on Bitcoin, right? Or $55 billion of net inflows on Bitcoin. We're not quite there on Ethereum, but Ethereum has had extremely respectable inflows, especially from big players. BlackRock's buying a ton of Ethereum, $7.8 billion. Something I need you to remember is that in the first 2 years of the gold ETF, you saw like $4 billion. The Ethereum spot ETFs are outperforming gold. Of course, Ethereum is going to rally. So yes, a $7,500 Ethereum is conservative. $10,000 is far more likely. So the first takeaway of this piece of content today is to consider adding Ethereum to your long-term holding. We hold a lot of Ethereum. I'm glad we do. Ethereum, although it does not have a fixed supply, does not inflate very quickly. It's been sitting around 120 million tokens for a very long time. And if you look at just one of our basic sniff tests for whether or not a coin is too hyperinflationary, you just come over here on CoinMarketCap and you switch back and forth between the price action chart and the market cap chart. You'll see here, the charts basically look the same. They're basically identical. And the reason for that is because there's not that much inflation going on underneath. It's really not much at all. So that's not something we need to worry about. So passes the sniff test. This all makes sense. What do we do? First of all, long-term holding for Ethereum makes a lot of sense. Highly recommended. Number two, once you break through this, once Bitcoin has this correction, Ethereum has this correction, which is starting right now. We've got a head and shoulders pattern down on the hourly chart, right? Once this happens, you could consider entering a long trade down here. But I would do low leverage. Like 5, 10x, because you need a low liquidation because you're going to need to hold it for a long time. There's going to be a lot of people getting liquidated on ETH. I don't want you to be one of them. So low leverage long all the way up to 5,000. If you were to enter a low leverage long, let's call it 10%, around $3,500 and hold it until all-time high, that is a 44% movement back to all-time high. 10x, that's a 450% movement. So if you're looking to trade this movement, you could make 450% by simply doing a 10x long on Ethereum pretty much any time now. A 10x leverage trade, you'd be risking a 10% liquidation. That's a pretty low drop. So if you get into that at the right time, you're not going to get liquidated. You could end up doing pretty well. So that's what I'm looking at doing. I'm looking at trading the rally back up to 5,000 because it seems very clear to me that it's going to happen soon. A lot of inflows going into the ETF. I'd love you to join me on that. So if you want to, I highly encourage you to sign up for the exchange that we're using, which is 2Bit. Right over here, if you deposit $100 on 2Bit, you're going to get $30 instantly for free. Now, before you click off, I'm going to give you some free money. You're going to make some free money right now. If you listen to the next 60 seconds, you're going to just get free money. Jeff, that sounds too good to be true. No, it's not. It's marketing. 2Bit's going to give you some money for signing up. That's the way it works. You deposit $100 on 2Bit, you're going to get $30 instantly for free. Once you sign up on 2Bit, you're also going to get $50 just for registering on 2Bit. And then once you do $1,000 of perp futures of trading, this $50 is going to double into $100. So you just turned $100 and you just traded it a little bit into $230, not to mention whatever profit you may have made on the trade that had $1,000 in volume. So that's awesome. But the second thing is that if you sign up for 2Bit right now and you deposit $100, you will also get into our trading group for free. This is a trading group called the First Cohort that I've just launched. We've got a bunch of people over here that are all working together to do trade setups. People are buying, investing, posting charts, sharing wisdom, all kinds of stuff all the time over here. And you can get into the First Cohort trading group for free for a year if you take a screenshot of your $100 deposit and your UID and you send it to the email address and the link in the description box down below, MalachiPats@CryptoJeb.com. He's one of our employees. He works for us. He's going to take your information. We're going to respond with a coupon code to give you 1 year for free. It is $419 a year to be in the first cohort. You're going to get a 100% off coupon for the first year. You're going to get the first cohort Discord server for free for a year. All you got to do is sign up for 2bit, deposit $100, shoot him that email. We will give you a coupon code, and you will be able to get into the first cohort for free for a year. Plus, you're going to get $130 for free just by signing up. So if you've not already signed up for 2bit, it's an incredible exchange, great interfaces where I'm doing my trading, is where I'm going to be opening these trades that we're talking about. If you want to join us and see when I enter those trades, see all of my positions. Yesterday when I bought $11,000 of Bitcoin, the day before when I bought $11,000 of Bitcoin, I posted that in the Discord server. They got to see that before anybody. So sign up for 2bit, deposit $100, get into the first cohort trading group for free for a year, and I look forward to seeing your smiling faces there. Where's Ethereum going? Do you think it's going to $7,500 this bull market? I think so. I think it's going to happen soon, and I'd love to see you guys at the top. Hey, I appreciate you all being here. I love you. If you enjoyed the video, like the video. If you find this interesting, repost this on Twitter. Share it with somebody that you think is going to get value out of it. I love you. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for putting up with my ridiculous hair, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.